Greetings. Today I will talk about the third supply mission to Jamestown Colony that ended in disaster. Laden with supplies and between 500 and 600 passengers and crew, a 9-ship fleet departed Plymouth, England, bound for the new colony at Jamestown on June the 2nd, 1609. The Sea Venture was the largest ship in the fleet and served as a flagship for the largest fleet yet assembled for departure to the New World. Before getting started, I would encourage you to subscribe to the Mossy Feet Books YouTube channel for more great content. If you like my videos, please hit the like button. The more likes I get, the more YouTube will show it to other people, allowing me to grow the channel. I also entreat you to visit my website, www.mossyfeetbooks.com. There you will find sample chapters, podcasts, a slew of content, and links to where you can buy my books. While visiting the website, you can subscribe to it and receive email notifications of when I publish a new book or other content like this video and podcast. This episode is based on my book, Colonial American History Stories, 1215 through 1665. The Sea Venture was the first ship designed as an immigrant ship and included several new interior design features. The hold was designed to accommodate passengers. Previous vessels had their defensive guns placed below decks. This placement called for a double-planked hull so it could withstand concussion of the cannon. The Sea Venture's guns were on the main deck, eliminating this need. The Sea Venture had a displacement of 300 tons. Many sea historians think she was the first single-tiered ship built for immigration. The fleet departed from Plymouth, England on June the 2nd, 1609, with enough supplies and livestock to last the new colony for a year. The passenger list included many of the skilled people needed to form a self-sufficient colonies. These new colonists were shipwrights, carpenters, fishermen, masons, and farmers. Previous voyages sent to Jamestown had included numerous gentlemen not suited for the raw life of a colonist in a new land. The captain was an experienced seaman, Thomas Newport. The largest ship of the largest fleet assembled by the English to go to North America foundered and sank in a hurricane on July the 28th, 1609. The passengers and crew found refuge on a small island in the Bermuda Island group. The mission was to take new passengers as much needed supplies to Jamestown. The fleet departed England on June the 2nd and was only about 8 days from Jamestown when the storm struck. The fleet ran into a hurricane in late July, only about 8 days out of Jamestown. The heavy seas with a 30-foot wave separated the fleet. The wind and wave caused leak to develop in the Sea Venture's hull. In the haste to get a new vessel built, the builders had not caulked the hull properly. Water rose to 9 feet in the hold, despite the passengers' frantic attempt to bail the water out. The winds drove the stricken Sea Venture to the island of Bermuda, where the captain ran the leaking ship aground in the Bermuda Islands. Thus marooned, the crew and passengers took refuge on an island where they survived for the next several months. The other ships, thinking the Sea Vulture lost in the storm, continued on to Jamestown. Fleet Commander George Somers had achieved something of a miracle in the aftermath of the hurricane. The storm stranded the 150 prospective Jamestown colonists on Bermuda. He had managed to ground the ship between two of the reefs that surrounded the island. All of the passenger and crew had successfully escaped from the escaped ship and were now on the island. The date was July the 28th, 1609, almost 2 months since they had set sail from Plymouth, England. Spanish sea captain Juan de Bermudez discovered the islands that bear his name in 1503. He claimed the archipelago of 181 islands for Spain. He visited the islands a couple of more times, but the dangerous reefs that ring the island prevented his from landing there. A shipwrecked Spanish ship released pigs on the island, which became feral. During this time, the common name of the island was Islands of the Devil. Spanish sailors believed that devils inhabited the islands and it was bad luck for anyone to land there. The island remained unoccupied for the next 100 years. Then the unfortunate survivors of the Sea Venture shipwrecked there. The shipwrecked survivors knew they were on their own. The fate of the other ships in the fleet assembled to relieve the settlers at Jamestown would not know their fate. Indeed, for all Summers knew, the other ships had perished in the storm. Summers decided that their only rescue lay in the wrecked Sea Venture. The survivors salvaged what they could from the ship. They transferred all of the food and supplies to the island. The feral pigs provided a ready food supply. The only source of water they had was to save rainfall and the winter water stores on the ship. Captain Summers had one of the ship's longboats outfitted for an ocean voyage. Then he sent 8 men on it, their mission to go to Jamestown to carry tidings of their fate. No one ever saw these men again. Sir Thomas Gates, the newly appointed governor of Jamestown, was among the passengers. Soon disagreement broke out between the two men about who was in charge. Gates felt that since they were ashore, he was the leader. Summers believed that he was in command until he delivered the passengers to Jamestown. The argument between the two men divided the colonists into two dissenting groups. In spite of their internal strife, the overriding need was to survive. So in spite of their differences, the colonists began construction of the ship. Summers had another stroke of luck. His passengers consisted of a number of skilled workmen. Many of the first voyages included mostly gentlemen seeking fortunes in the New World. By September, they decided they needed a ship to get off the island. Summers and the new Jamestown governor, Sir Thomas Gates, would supervise the construction of the ship. The Sea Venture and the surrounding forests would supply the material. The skilled workmen and crew would provide the labor. The native Bermuda cedar would make ideal material for shipbuilding. On September the 7th, 1609, they laid the keel of the Patience. The colonists spent the next 9 months building a ship. When complete, Newport saw that the Patience would not carry all 150 passengers. Using more Bermuda cedar and more salvaged parts from the Sea Venture, they built a second ship, the Deliverance. By May the 10th, 1610, the two ships were complete. The colonists loaded as many of the supplies on the two ships as they could and departed Bermuda. Christopher Carter and Robert Waters stayed behind to maintain the English claim to the islands. Europeans have continuously occupied the island since the date of the July shipwreck. Many believe that Shakespeare based his play, The Tempest, on the colonists' fight for survival on Bermuda. The ships arrived in Jamestown on May the 24th to find the colony in pitiful straits. This episode is based upon my book, Colonial American History Stories, 1215 through 1664, available on the website www.mossyfeetbooks.com. The book is the first book in the 6-volume timeline of United States History series. Discover some of the famous and almost forgotten historic stories of America. The story begins with the signing of the Magna Carta in 1215 and the beginnings of the concept of limited government, and ends, for now, with the beginning of the American Revolution in 1775. The articles in the book have much more detail, as well as articles not included in this podcast. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and thank you for listening.